Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are, whenever you're watching this. This is Floating in Dreams. Today I'm going to be doing a 10 palette review for you. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today we're going to be doing a palette roundup review for all the things I tried in August. So these were some new in bits that I got earlier in the year and I finally got around to using them. And today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts with you. In case you're new here, hi, my name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I like to come on here to chat about eyeshadow palettes, Essence and Catrice reviews, and getting the use out of my makeup. And because I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, I deem myself a snow angel. And that very greatly skews my makeup preferences. So if you'd like to join the Snow Angel Club, then definitely click subscribe down below. So yeah, 10 palettes that I've tried again this month. I have to say though that I'm going to be slowing down how many palettes I review every month that are new to me, because I just really badly want to go back to older things. And so what I'm gonna do from now on, starting in September, I'm going to do 2 palette review videos. One of them is going to be reviews with new in things, so things that I have never tried before, with like all the swatches and the looks and doing all that. But then I also want to do a separate video, which I still need a title, but right now in my brain it's Palettes Revisited. And I would just want to go back to older palettes, because even though that content probably doesn't do very well, I still want to make videos with the things I already have. And I just want to get more use out of palettes I know I love, but that because I'm trying out so many new things all the time, I didn't have the time to go back to. But now that I've been buying fewer things, I can start going back to these old things. So that's what I plan on doing, to sort of do like 2 videos with 5 new palettes in one video and 5 older palettes in the other. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to format it, but that's what you can expect from me moving on in the future. But today I still have 10 for you because I did have a little bit of catching up to do. I think most of the things that are in the basket I bought in like February, March, April time. So this is like my spring purchases, you could say. Was this all purchased in the spring? I think so. So these are 10 bits that I want to show you, and let me just get started straight away. We're gonna start with the small things first, so I don't forget about them and I don't lose them. I nearly lost my Natascha Denona mini retro the other day. It was still stuck in a bag somewhere. So the first thing I want to chat about is the Cosmetics Divine Skies eyeshadow palette in Oden. And I think in my tier ranking predictions of how much I'm going to like all the palettes I bought so far, but I hadn't tried them yet, that this was going to be one of my new favorite neutral palettes, and I can confirm this is really, really good. I love the formula that we get in here. We get 3 mattes, 3 shimmers. It's got a really good neutral undertone. I wish they would do more cool tones though in this line. Everything they do is pretty warm toned, so that's why I went with this one. Because to me, this was the one that looked the least like it was going to have a lot of warmth to it. It does have a little bit of peachiness going through the middle, but we also get some like neutral browns here. And I felt that the peach was very pretty on my skin tone. I also have that feeling very often with peach toned highlighters on myself, that because I have a neutral undertone that can be more cool toned, like I just prefer cool tones on myself. I've said it many times before, but because I lean more neutral heavy, I can get away with everything, so this works for me really, really well. If I want to do a quick everyday makeup look, this is great. The shimmer formula in here isn't too intense and metallic, so these will not fall off your lids. They don't need any sort of thing like foiling or like a spray, or, you know, you could always use a bit of finger action. I do that with most shimmers that I use, but yeah, these aren't the most intense shimmers of your lifetime, so these are very workable, very easy to play with. I just wish that Cosmetics wouldn't be so expensive to buy if you're in Europe. And then the other mini palette that I have for you is a Natascha Denona one. This is the mini Zendo, and I bought this when I was in Paris, and this was still sort of like on the back of my brain going like, I still want to try this sometime. I own the mini retro and the mini love, and I just felt that this kind of bridged the gap between both of those. So that's why this was still sort of on the wish list. So I feel that this can sort of like deepen up the mini love, mini retro I should say, and tone down the mini love a little bit and make it a little less pink, because I feel that that's often too pink for my liking. I really like that greeny, grayish, silver shade in the middle. That's really lovely, but I also really enjoy the peachy shades. and the purple. I actually filmed some videos wearing this eyeshadow palette, so maybe you have already seen some of those videos. I always have in the description box what it is that I'm wearing on my face and where my shirt is from that you actually see. I'm currently wearing sweatpants at the bottom, so you really don't have to see that. But yeah, Mini Zendo was a lovely one. Good, same formula as I know and love from Natascha Denona. I like the shades in here. It's not as warm toned as it looks. I think the metallic background actually kind of makes these shades look more warm toned in the pan than they are once you start applying it. More mini bits. Moonshot Rêve à Paris à Moonshot. That's the full name of this palette. This is a K-beauty brand. I believe the brand is just called Moonshot. And I saw this on YesStyle and I was like, that looks like a really cute travel palette. So we've got a warm toned rosy look and a warm toned more like burgundy heavy look. When I looked at this online, I had hoped that this was like cool toned and this warm toned, but it turns out that everything is quite warm. So that's why I feel it's not perfect, but the quality in this was really, really lovely. I do like it a lot. It only has 2 shimmers, which is a bit of a shame, but the mattes in here perform really, really well. I was able to pull some stunning looks out of it. I really enjoy the shades. We get a nice deep dark brown for liner action. I actually did one look with this where I actually tried that like straight eyeliner trend that's going on. I definitely tried out a couple of different eyeshadow placements with some of the looks I did with the palettes in this selection. But yeah, I thought I could give it a whirl. I know that you're supposed to do that with liquid liner, but my skin and my very watery eyes just don't love eyeliner that close to the outer corner, because this is always where it gets really teary and wet. So then liquid liner is just not a good thing. Powder will just like disappear. So that's a little safer for me to use. So yeah, I tried a little bit of that and it worked quite well. I really like the shades in here. It is a bit too warm toned for my liking perhaps, but it's a good mini palette. So definitely good for travel or just, you know, if you need to chuck something into a makeup bag because you're staying the night somewhere else. This is a good one. And then I have a palette that I received in PR, and I received this in PR already in December, and I had just forgotten I owned this. Not because I had so much going on in terms of eyeshadow, but in December there was just a lot going on in my life, and makeup just wasn't at the forefront of my brain. So that's why it kind of got lost in the shuffle. But now I'm really happy to say that I finally used my Whatsup Beauty Desert Monsoon palette. And now that I've tried this, that Geode palette that they came out with, it's very much speaking my name, because this, if you want like a depth shimmer quality but you want more mattes, this. And the shimmers in here are outstanding. This has 4 or 5 mattes, and we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shimmers. And it's, you know, you get decent sized pans here. They're not overly big. It's a nice and curated color story to begin with. And we get some like cooler tone neutrals in here. And then we get some warmer tone neutrals in here. So you have a little bit of everything to play around with. Also in the shimmers, you get this green is lovely. That gold, I'm normally not a big fan of gold eyeshadow, but there's just something about it. It has that green undertone that I love if a gold has that. So these have different undertones and they're a bit flippy. I have to say though that the blue and the purple were a little bit more difficult to build up. It was a bit like that Glam Light sort of formula where I feel I have to put on 4 layers just to make it go on opaque and like, you know, go on with a brush and then a finger and then wet the brush and then use the shadow again and all that jazz. But I got there in the end and it was very workable, and it's really only these 2 shades that need either a very dense synthetic brush and a bit of foiling for them to truly show up the way they do in the pan. But I got it there in the end, and I actually used this palette to do a bit of a half cut crease because I felt like, you know, hey, it's summer vacation, I might as well play around with some makeup. So, and this palette definitely has it all. It's just a really good all-rounded color story. So you get neutrals and you get pops of color. Can't fault it. And then I also wanted to still try some more cool tones because I wanted to do a cool tone review as part of Eyeshadow Palette Month this month. So that's why I bought the Makeup by Lisa Raven's Castle eyeshadow palette. I've mentioned this a couple of times already in my videos, but I got introduced to this brand through Erica Conger here on YouTube. She did a collab with a friend of hers with this palette. This is a small UK-based indie brand. I think they're located on the Isle of Wight. I think that's a really fun fact. And we get this like gothic-y front, and then inside we get a 9-pan. That is really, really stunning. Granted, some of the shades pulled a little bit differently on my eyes than what I felt they were going to do in the pan. So this pulled a little bit darker. This wasn't as taupe, but a little bit more gray leaning. But the looks I did with this, I thought were absolutely stunning. If you're looking for a good cool tone palette, this is it. It does have a black, which is quite deep compared to everything else we've got going on, so I could never use that as a deepening up shade. Never, ever in my life. But I really like these two shades at the bottom. They are very, I wouldn't call them glitters, but they are a little bit more sparkly than your average satin shimmer, but they don't have fallout. Like, I don't know how they did it, but these two shades make the palette for me. Like, these can be topped over anything. You can put them in the inner corner, and because it has the matte white, you can tone down any of the shades if you want to. So because this was a little bit dark, I just used a bit of the white to blend it over it when I put it in the crease, and that made me very happy. So it's even a little bit more adaptable as well. So this has some stunning shades. I was able to pull some pretty looks out of it. This is a great indie brand, so thank you, Erica, for talking about this and showing it on your channel, because this is now like, it's just cool tone heaven. Speaking of cool tones, this is a 2-in-1, but I'm going to talk about each one separately, of course. The Black Jasmine and the Cold Brew Quads from the Smokey Nostalgia collection from Kaleidos. Let me talk about the Black Jasmine first. So the packaging of these is just absolutely gorgeous. It's a little squishy, but it is fabric. It's actually lace fabric, and it then has that design behind it. It's just stunning. It's really, really well done. How this is going to look if you use this every day, I don't know. And also the name of the palette is nowhere on the packaging because of it being a fabric. Any sticker you would put on this would just fall off. So I know this is the Black Jasmine quad because it has the gray tones, you know? But yeah, this is then something you just need to bear in mind. So this actually, I thought I wasn't going to love. I kind of bought this one to have the complete set and try both of them. I thought I was going to love the Cold Brew much more than I did this. But this ended up being really, really nice. Why? Because the gray in here has a bit of a bluish undertone, and the same goes for this really intense silver. It is a stark silver, but it's not so stark that I feel you can't use it anymore. And this shade is great for like transitioning things. It worked really well on my skin tone. The black in here is really nice as well. So I thought it was going to be too smoky for my liking, but it turned out to just be a good like gray toned look that wasn't super smoky. You can go full on smoky if you incorporate the black, but you don't have to. And the shimmer in here is absolutely stunning. And I do still really like the Cold Brew. The Cold Brew was one that, again, in my tier ranking video I did in July, I predicted this was going to be a top favorite. Now I'm a bit torn. Do I like this better than the Black Jasmine, or do I like the Black Jasmine better? But this is taupey browns. This one, though, has a bit of yellow running to it, which I'm not too big of a fan of. So I feel that these two are perfect, and also that shimmer, but this blending shade kind of made it a bit more warm tone. So I feel that if this had a little less yellow to it, it probably would have worked better. But I know that a lot of people with warm undertones or olive undertones struggle using cool tones. And then this may be a really good one, because if you use this and you have a warm undertone, it's not going to look too ashy, which the grayish one might actually look ashy on a lot of people. It doesn't do that for me. So this is it's just really nice. This is perhaps, it's just a little less dramatic than the Black Jasmine. And I think I've just really gotten used to more dramatic makeup from everything that's out there. And this is just a little bit more toned down. The shimmer in here is stunning, but I felt this had a little less base pigment to it than the one in the Black Jasmine. So I think I prefer the Black Jasmine because I like the undertones better and how it comes together. And I like the shimmer a little bit better in that. So that's why I think I like that one a bit better, but the quality is exactly the same in both of them. And I really like it. But yeah, in terms of color story and what it does for my complexion, I think this is the better one of the two for me personally. And then I finally got round to trying out the Angelica Nyqvist collab with Oden's Eye. This is the Hela palette. And Hela is, I did watch the launch video, so if I'm not mistaken, she's a goddess of like life and death, which is why the image is also of like part decay and part life, if I'm not mistaken. And let me just get down to it straight away. Now that I've used it, I feel there's too little death and decay in the palette. I feel there's a lot of spring vibes, life, but not so much death and decay, which is this. Was I able to pull some stunning looks out of it? For sure, but I would have liked this to be a little bit more plummy almost, like more purpley, rather than these bright pinks, because I don't love bright pinks to begin with, and I have plenty of them already in my collection. But yeah, you can do some really cool things with it for sure. I was able to pull some stunning looks, like I said, but I just felt that the color story was a bit lacking. I would have liked this to be murkier, this row, and I would have liked it much, much better. Favorite shades in the palette are definitely like down this line here. This shimmer and that shimmer are incredibly stunning. I layered them together in the look. You get the mustardy yellow tones with the greens, which is stunning. The pinks work really, really well, but this peach, I wasn't a fan of, and also this white shade has a very peach undertone, and I just don't really, like, I don't get those two shades. If those had been replaced by something else that was a bit grungier, I think I would have liked it a lot better. The quality in here is great. Oden's Eye eyeshadow is of really, really high quality. I cannot fault it for that. The color story is interesting, but I've kind of confirmed my apprehension for buying this initially. It wasn't until I saw the swatches in the launch video that I was like, these three colors make the palette for me. Yeah, that very deep plum, which can be a black, but it's not quite, and those two shimmers really make the palette for me. Everything else is something I already own elsewhere, I feel, but the way that comes together. So this is a palette I definitely want to go back to at some point and do some more looks, because I think that, for instance, this really murky green with some of those shades can be pretty too. Right now I just kind of split the palette in half just to use the shades, but I can see myself doing more looks with it. And that's what I like in a palette, is if it has the versatility where even if I've already done a couple of looks with it, it's not forcing me to do the same look every time, but I can get more than like a handful of looks out of it. I can easily see myself doing like 10, 15 different looks with it, and it will look differently every single time. And that's why I do really appreciate it. I'm happy to own it. Was it necessary in my collection? Maybe not. And then I think two palettes that I wanted to review for you that I bought, also for comparison reasons and all that, but also because I think a lot of people want to hear my thoughts on them. The New Mod and the Patrick Ta. So we're gonna do New Mod first. That's actually what's on my eyes today. So in case you were wondering what eyeshadow I was wearing, that's the look I did with the New Mod. So this is by Sigma, in case you're unfamiliar. And this was launched in the springtime. And the minute this was announced, I was like, I want to try that. I do tend to like the quality of Sigma eyeshadows, but I don't, like, I've tried the Enchanted and I wasn't over the moon, which is why I haven't tried any other palettes until this one was released. And I feel they've changed the formula, but you need to be aware that these aren't the most pigmented shadows ever. Especially some of these like deeper mattes take a little bit more building up in order to make it work. And the main question I had with this palette is it warm toned? Is it cool toned? And I feel that this is suffering a little bit from what the Natascha Denona Zendo was suffering from as well. Because it has that very strong metallic gold background, the palette looks incredibly warm toned. But if you were to discredit the background and sort of take it away, which hopefully my swatches can show you, this is definitely not as warm toned as it looks. I feel we only get 3 true warm tones. These 2 rosy shades in the middle and this gold. Everything else is neutral to cool toned. However, it is quite dark. I have tried this shade and, is it this one? No, this one. This shade in the crease. This is the crease shade I've used today. And as you can see, this eye look is quite dark on me. So on my fair skin, this eyeshadow palette pulls a lot darker than you might expect at first glance. So this is much more aimed at like light, medium, tan skin perhaps, If you have very deep skin, it's probably not going to look right with these shades here. But for me, it's a very sultry look. It's still great for every day. I could wear this to work for sure, no issues. These blended easily. The shimmers feel a little dry, like they feel a little gritty almost, like not glittery, don't get me wrong, but just a little bit dry. And I feel they needed a bit of finger action just to get the oils of my fingers in there to get a little bit more impactful. Also, there are a couple of shades here, which this one and this one, that in the looks I did, I used as a topper to just add a little bit more dimension, because the shimmers don't do that. If you just, you know, pop this one on the lid like I did today, if you put that over it, you just get a little bit more of that sheen and sparkle, which I do prefer. This is also what's in my inner corner today. The plum shades that are in here are lovely. They are really nice. I like how we get two different renditions of a dark brown, one that's much deeper and darker, which is what I'm using as liner today. But this can also work as a liner if you want something much more neutral and lighter for every day. So I think that, again, like with the Angelica, Nyqvist and Oden's eye collab, I feel I can do many more looks with this one that I haven't tried yet. I just used all the shades in two different looks. I tend to use 6 to 8 shadows when I do an eye look, okay? It's all about the blendability for me. I don't see how can you make an eye look with 3 shades? I can't do that. I need a couple of more shades to make that work for me. So yeah, I can definitely see myself, you know, this is a great neutral look. You can do that. I think, again, if you move over, you have this quad, you have this quad, you have this quad, you have this quad, you have this quad. So I can see like each quad being a look. Right now, I just focus one look more so around the warm tones. And the other look that I'm wearing today is a bit more about like the cool tone purples. And that's one of the things I think is really unique about this palette, is that, for instance, this plum, it's cool toned, but if you put it with a warm tone, like I did here, because I put it in this look, it just has the quality to adapt, and it still goes. So that's why I would say this is more of like a neutral palette. It's not overly warm, not overly cool toned. It's a rosy tone palette that sort of walks that very, very like narrow middle ground that, you know, a lot of palettes have trouble navigating, where it's just a really good neutral rosy pink purple palette that I think could have been more cool toned, could have been more mauve toned, and then I would have liked it a lot better. But this is definitely one that I'm very happy to own. Again, it's got versatility. It has a lot of different looks you can do. And I think of the 2 that I'm showing you in this video today, this would be my pick. But if you have fair skin, I do want you to remember that this is a little bit deeper than you might expect. And then we have Patrick Ta's Major Dimension 2. Apologies for the reflection and apologies for the fingerprints, because this gets dirty very quickly. So in case you're unfamiliar, these palettes from Patrick Ta are not cheap. And for how expensive this is, get the Sigma. Get the Sigma over this, and not because it's warm toned, not at all. Do I like the quality of the mattes? Oh boy, these mattes are amazing. Some of the best mattes I've ever worked with. The shimmers, really, really pretty. Really stunning. They work really well on the lid, but they don't pick up with a brush. You need your fingers to get them onto the eyes, and I don't mind using my fingers to apply eyeshadow. I really, really don't, but I feel like with a shimmer, I also want to be able to blend it. So if I cannot use it with my finger, only with my fingers, it's going to be a lot harder to blend it, and when you blend it, you do create fallout, because these shimmers all have quite a lot of sparkle to them. This one, I'm not sure if you can see, but it already has a dent, because when I stuck my brush in, I literally, like, I'm very gentle when I use my makeup, but I was able to like scoop out shadow because of how these are formulated. They are very creamy, they are very thick, and some of these just barely picked up with a brush. Others were too loose almost, and that you could just scoop it out even though you were just really gently getting your brush in there. So the shimmer quality, while like on the eyes it looks super duper pretty, I have to say, like the way these came together and also how they layered was gorgeous. Gorgeous. It's just that, the way the texture of them is just not my favorite. And then we get these creams under the flap, and I also use those. So I figured that I could use this as like a base, you know, like you would a cream base, and or maybe as a bit of like a cream eyeliner or something. They are so sticky. I started off the first look I tried with that lighter cream here at the top, and it was so sticky I could no longer blend any eyeshadow on top of it. Now I know a lot of people like that because it makes the shimmers then stick, right? So I tried that again. So after I went in with a bit of the matte and like stamped it on top of it to set that, because I was like, oh, that's going to crease like no tomorrow on my hooded eyes if I just leave it as is. So when I got to the shimmers, I applied a little bit again of it to see if it would make the shimmers stick better and make them more vibrant. It didn't. So I was like, what's the point of this? If it's going to be so sticky that I can no longer blend shadow on top, I can't use it as a base. Okay, so we've eliminated that. It doesn't make the shimmers in this palette stick better or more intense. You could just use a regular glitter primer for it. So then what's the point of having those creams? And then this darker one is way too dark. So I was like, maybe I can use it as eyeliner. Let's see, but it's too emollient to use as eyeliner. So I got this really thick, chunky line when I use it like that. So I don't know. This palette should have not had the creams, and then I would have liked it better. So for how expensive this is, I wouldn't recommend this because I don't love the shimmer formula. I don't understand the creams, and I'm just not a lover of mattes. It's shimmers where it's at for me. Is this a stunning palette if you want a very warm toned rosy look? Yes. But I don't like the quality for how expensive it is. So I would say save your money. This was one that was a bit of a fail for me. Does it have like really stunning shades, and do I want to go back to it at some point? Do I regret buying this? No, because I bought it to try it out just to see what the hype was about, because, you know, Patrick Ta is very hyped about as a brand on YouTube. So I was like, I want to try this. So many people were raving about the first one. So when he did rosy tones, I was like, okay, I like rosy tones. I can do this. I can handle this. I'll try it out for the channel to see how it goes. And now I've tried it, I'm like, is this what everybody's going on about? So I like having it in my collection. There are definitely different textures from a lot of the things that I own, but I don't know. I'm not a fan. Those are the 10 palettes I tried in the month of August. Let me know in a comment down below what you tried in terms of eyeshadow in August. Maybe you've tried something new. For now, just thumbs up the video and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to stay tuned for more. As I already mentioned, I will be doing 5 palette reviews starting in September because I just also want to give some more love to some older palettes I have, and I will be making videos with that as well. So if you'd like to stay tuned for more, take care everybody, have a good day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye!